Good to go? All right. Welcome, everybody, to the special solid waste meeting of August 5th, I believe. Yeah, August 5th. Tonight, do I need to dispense with, or do I need to read the virtual thing again, the governor's? I think I have it memorized. I'll give you the short version. Hey, pursuant to Governor Bill Lee's thing on COVID, we have to go virtual. It gives us the option to go virtual. So I'm going to need a motion. This is for our safety and health benefit, the option to go virtual. So I need a motion to allow us to do that. Thank you. We need a second. Second. We have a second. Would you please call a roll, Rachel?
Commissioner Blair?
Yes.
Commissioner Sherino?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner P? Chairman Cush?
Yes. Did you get Dodd on there?
I did.
Okay. All right. Very good. We have no minutes or anything to approve. Tonight we're in really phase one of our RFI review. We assigned ourselves the first three of, I believe, 12 it was. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, yeah, approximately 12. We're going to talk about dynamic life cycle innovations, GRIFE, and landfill performance solutions tonight, and then we'll talk about our next step as we go through the list. Gentlemen, any questions before we get started? Any suggestions before we get started? All right. Dynamic life cycle innovations is, and Mac, help me out if I misstate this, but this is a customer we are currently doing business with. Is that correct on our electronics?
Is correct.
I see in their RFI that they also have the ability to do appliances as well. Are we taking advantage of that now, or are we just doing electronics?
Doing electronics with them, the appliances we're taking to the scrap metal dealers here locally.
Okay, all right. So you all have read that. This is a company that we are doing ongoing business with, located out of Nashville. And I'm assuming we would like to extend them an invitation if they so choose to do a live or virtual meeting with us if we have any questions to ask. What are your thoughts on that?
I thought it was pretty important that they reported that they've, since February of 2018, they've just diverted just a little under of 1 million pounds of electronics from landfill. So I thought that was pretty credible, just that one statement.
Yeah, I would like to know things like, what they do with the converted electronic waste. You and I went to a facility in Laverne that actually repurposes this and reconditions a lot of the phones, computers, laptops that they get, and then resells them on the open market. So I would be really curious as to what their end game is and what they do with that waste, or if they just recycle it, or if they resell some of the hardware. I'm just really curious. But would we like to put these on the invite to interview list?
Commissioner.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I agree with you. I had 4 questions.
Yes, sir.
One of the things is, what do we pay them? Do we pay them to take our televisions and stuff like that?
Yes, sir.
What
Yes,
do we
sir.
pay them?
We're paying them 33 cents per pound for televisions and computer monitors, and 15 cents per pound for copy machines, fax machines, and printers. And then they're paying us for the other items. So by the time we ship a load that weighs somewhere around 650, 700 pounds, it costs us about $1,300 by the time we pay our bill.
So
What do they pay us for?
Pay us for the wiring, cables, and some of those other items, telephones and batteries, stuff like that.
You know what that number is, sir?
It was less than $500.
And what I wanted to know, Mr. Chairman, is I don't know if they'll tell us this, but, what is the revenue that they make off us?
Right. And could we do this ourselves?
Sure.
Yeah.
And then I just found out, my other question was, do they charge us, which I just got that. So one thing that they didn't put in here that I was curious about is community education. Are they going to do anything on that which would help their business as far as people knowing, just throwing it in the trash? They try to recycle it. And my last question is, what do you do with all the inventory when there's nothing?
I'm sorry, what was the
What
last?
do they do with all the inventory that's left over? I mean, if they don't have a buyer or anything like that, where do they store it and what do they do with it?
Yeah. Well, we're all, I'm sure, cognizant of the fact that this kind of waste, e-waste, is a growing and will continue to grow part of the waste stream. Oddly enough, the television industry sales were up tremendously during the COVID crisis, and mainly that was because when our president released the stimulus checks for those who needed it, TV sales went through the roof. But everybody has a phone. Everybody has computers, laptops, iPads, gaming devices. Think of your kids and grandkids. So this is a huge part of the waste stream. Matt, go ahead.
Talking about the sales of televisions, our normal average is $7,500 a month is what we pay them. The month of April, we paid them $15,000 because of all those people buying televisions and bringing their old ones to us.
Yeah. So I would love to have these folks sit down with us for a minute and give us a little presentation. Commissioner Blair.
So we're paying them 33 cents a pound to take it away, but our citizens are paying how much per pound to?
25 cents.
25 cents. So we're
Yeah,
there.
that's a different discussion which we need to have. And
I can feel like that will be adjusted at the next Public Works meeting.
yeah.
Yeah, but the bottom line is going to wind up probably being that this is going to be a multi-partner process, that there's probably not one, I guess what we call purveyors, that's going to be able to do 100% of everything, because
Right.
we have reclamation individuals here, we have the e-waste, and so it's going to turn out to be all hands on deck to solve this issue.
what my research has led me to believe is that the waste market is a niche. There's a specialty group that handles that. It's not every, of the 12, they may be the only one, though I don't know yet, but not everybody is set up to handle e-waste, because it's a different kind of stream, different type of collection, and then the refurbishing side of it that you and I witnessed. Stop and think. Your average waste handler is not capable of that high-tech kind of a handling and distribution. So it's a specialty market. So I would imagine there's very few individual companies that can handle that on a scale that you and I have both witnessed. So I'm going to make a suggestion that we send out dynamic an invitation for presentation or virtual for us to ask those kind of questions, and at some point in time, we want to look at renegotiating the price on that. That's a different question, different discussion, but we also need to be prepared to have that discussion very soon. All right.
Contract is a 1-year agreement with 4 one-year extensions.
Do you know where we are? Do you remember where we are on that?
Have 2 years left. August, this month is when it is a rollover period.
Okay, but I'm assuming it is at our discretion whether we want to up every year on that calendar date.
That is correct.
All right, so we are some months away to be at a point to update that contract for the third time.
Almost a year. Now, I think it started in 2017 for when we started the deal. So it does expire in August, I believe. So we're getting ready to start.
Will you tell us, will you find out what the date of the execution was, so we'll know exactly when that next year, and there's no doubt there has to be some signed contract that says yes or no, we're going to extend another year. Will you find out, and email the mayor or Steve or myself and find out what that date is?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner?
I'm good with that, Mr. Chairman, but if it's up August, and this is August, I say we make a motion to open it up for bid again, whether they're just one bid or not. I mean, we got to at least see what's out there,
Yeah.
because if we miss it, then that 1-year option goes in again, and then it's 12 months away. I'm not saying don't use them, Mike. I'm just saying the fact we need, why does it hurt that we don't see what's out there?
Yeah.
And if it's up in August, then
Well,
I'd like to make a motion for us to open it up for bid.
hang on, before we do that, Commissioner, not seeing the contract, sometimes these contracts say that you have to give them notice. It could be 60,
90 days.
90 days, that's 60-day notice before you could do that to them.
Yeah.
That puts us in a position where they could sue us for not giving them proper notice if we jerk it out from under them without putting it out to bid. Now, we could give them 60-day notice and do that in the middle of their renewal contract. I just would caution us doing that. I'm with you. We need to see what's out there. But from a contractual standpoint, I'm just trying to protect us.
You could still put them on notice that,
We're going to put it out to bid.
yeah, and whatever the 60, 90 day the contract says.
But if it comes up this month, we don't have time,
Yeah.
right? Am I correct?
So should we give them a 60-day notice
We-
now?
What we need to do is, we need to see how the contract reads.
We'll pull the contract and by Friday, when we come back Friday, I'll let you know, okay? Well, Mac, if you can pull that contract.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else out there that was interested in that, would they have not turned one of these in?
Great question. Great question. And I don't really have a solid answer for you.
My concern on this would be digging in on this subject. We're in a push to get something started with our trash system and all, and hopefully we'll have it going in maybe a year, maybe 2. Would it be worth the effort and the savings to even mess with it, to try to change it or whatever at this
Commissioner, I think that's a good point, and I think maybe let's look at the contract, come back and give you some more solid information on Friday, and this committee may want to wait until after the RFP, because this company that we're doing business with once we go through all of these, we may not find anybody that wants to do the electronics, and we may be stuck with them. I don't know. We're just feeling our way through this.
Pick them off, we'll be stuck with a pile of electronics somewhere.
Well, the price might go up, right?
Yeah.
To give you a little history on that, when we first started with it, Sims in Laverne helped us, and we had a private contractor that hauled all of our recycled roll-off containers as well, and he helped us, and we did it in front of the juvenile detention center, and we did it one Saturday and collected televisions, and we didn't have enough stuff. We had to come back and start hauling them in roll-off loads to get them all loaded. and it was all for free. Nobody charged us anything. And at Christmas that year, we'd made a deal with a company out of Woodbury, PC Disposal. They didn't pay us anything. We did not pay them anything. We opened up Haley Road, and we thought 6 months would be done. We're shipping out loads every week now. Then they went out of business. We had a company called Scott out of Knoxville. Same deal. They didn't pay us. We didn't pay them. We kept them for a little while, and then they went out, and we wound up with somebody else that didn't last hardly any time. And we went out for bid, and Scott and Dynamics, I think, was the only bidder the first time. The second round, we did the bid. Dynamics was the only one. Sims got all they wanted of us that very first time. That's the company in Laverne you were speaking about earlier.
That was a very good level-headed suggestion, and I understand your point of we need to stop hemorrhaging money. So let's treat Dynamic this way. It's a two-pronged fork. The one side is they're charging us 33 cents a pound for computers. We're only charging our folks 25 cents. That's not their fault. That's our fault. So let's put that part aside. We have a lot of questions for them, and we'd like to know some things that we've already discussed. So my suggestion is we put them on the list, invite for a presentation. And it seems pretty obvious to me that we would move these over to the RFP pile. But we'll give them I would like to extend them an invitation for a presentation. Does anybody agree, disagree?
I agree.
Okay, all right. Speaking of that, who is going to be in charge of, I'm looking both ways, who's going to be in charge of extending invitations to these people that we...
It'll come out of the mayor's
Mayor's
office. We'll be working with Becky and Rachel and make sure that,
So,
that's why you're working.
yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez. All right,
Yeah.
so,
Mr. Chairman,
yes, sir.
you know, one of the reasons for us to do these meetings with the RFIs, hopefully to find out things that we didn't know before. Or
Correct.
discover some things. On the last page in red, they note the things that they do not accept. And some of these I really hadn't thought about before, in bulbs and gas cylinders and ballast and vape pens and smoke detectors. And those are not things that I really thought of being in the waste stream, but they definitely are. So it just broadens our scope. And again, it's just nice to have had somebody to point out some things that maybe we hadn't considered. And of course, we had an incident with a cylinder down in the Weekly Center this past week. So you know, things like that need to be public, and do our best for the public good or public safety.
Well, and one of the questions obviously might be, Dynamic, thank you very much for this huge list, and I see this non-accepted items. Tell me who does take that?
We do. Fluorescent bulbs we take at Haley Road from residents, not from businesses. So that's any day that we're open. The gas propane cylinders, those tanks, we take those at Haley Road as well. Liquids we don't take. Medical waste we don't deal with. The ballast we try not to deal with. The radioactive waste, those type things wind up in the household hazardous waste events, which we're not going to have any this year unless we do our own.
So, I mean, ideally, we have to find a home for all this stuff. Ideally. It may cost us some money because some of this stuff is hazardous and contains, little batteries that are dangerous and things like that. But these are all good questions that we need to ask. So, thank you, Commissioner Blair. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And members, I would like some direction. The mayor's office has already received a call requesting information to get copies of everything that was opened yesterday, all these proposals. I would like between now and Friday to get an opinion from our attorney. I believe, and I'm just going to refer to, I'm not going to call her name, but I'll refer to the fourth one on your list. It appears to me that in glancing through this is more of a RFP submission than an RFI. And maybe they didn't understand the process that we're going through between the RFI and RFP, and these actually have numbers in it, the fourth one there, of what they can do and the cost of and et cetera. So I'm wondering, since this information is public, can we hold these until the RFP if we determine that it is an RFP submission, and only give anybody that requests the submissions that are strictly an RFI in general, requesting information. You see what I'm saying? I don't think it'd be fair to give them a copy of it and they thought it was an RFP coming in, and then we're going to ask for quotes and give us your best shot going into the RFP process, and they said, well, we did that in RFI, you know. So I'm saying, can I get hold of our attorney to see what we can do on that before I just start giving copies to everyone that comes in to request it?
I would, go ahead, Commissioner Perry.
Have requested, are they people that are interested in
Yes, sir.
offering to help us on our project, or is it just general public?
No, there are companies that have turned in bids. They want to see what everybody else RFI looks like.
Personally, I wouldn't feel comfortable giving them anything until you turn it out to the RFP.
Well, and that's where I think some may be confused, because, you know, this 2-page letter is definitely an RFI, you know, because they're not really giving us anything. They're just talking about themselves, and they'll be prepared to come back with an RFP, I would assume. But, you know, the fourth one on your list, this appears to me to be an RFP, you know, because they've got stage 1, stage 2 cost associated with each one of them, and I think this will be the same thing they turn in on the RFP. And there may have been some confusion. Becky, you kind of feel that same way?
I just think we have to look at it and say, what is, you know, when does it become public record, and what do we do with them from there?
So I'd like
some
to,
of them do fit RFP versus.
I'd like to get an opinion, and then the attorney may say, well, call them and ask them what their intent was. You know, if they want to turn this in an RFI, then we just let it go, make copies, right?
Mr. Mayor, is it not open as records that this is considered open record, so it would be, I mean, they would be able to see it?
Well, that's where I want,
Anything we do in this meeting, in this chamber, is open records.
yeah, and that's what, before I release it to anybody and print it and give it to them, I really don't want, I want to get a legal opinion.
I'm against it. I don't think anybody should get it, but if we start violating that open records, you know, then I don't see that we have any way that we can stop it.
Yeah.
Have a request for information policy, and it comes through the HR department, and she redacts any information that should not go out.
Yeah, that's,
Those requests should, yes.
Yeah,
So all
that's-
those requests
So
should
we
go
could say
through.
that, so we could actually say legally that this is redacted if we call these people and say, we didn't mean for that, we thought this was the RFP, you know, before I copy it and hand it to one of the competitors. All I'm trying to do is just save us some heartache down the road or an argument.
Most often when people ask for those requests, after the 10th page, they get charged, so they decide they don't want all that stuff anymore.
That's true.
that would have been my suggestion is, with the county attorney, is could we redact simply with a black marker, mark out the pricing? Or call
Fourth one on the list.
Mero Oaks and ask for a abbreviated 2-page RFI letter and to suffice for public, not for public.
I haven't looked through the rest of them. Some may have done that as well.
It's a good point. If it was me, well, no, I won't do that. If it was me, I would never put a price out there. But since the camel has already put his head under the tent,
This one's in another country, so they may
Yeah.
not understand our process.
yeah, yeah, true. Their RFI may mean something else. But anyway, that's a good question for the attorney. All right, so you'll
Yes, sir.
make that question?
I will. I'll contact him and be able to report back to you on Friday.
And I guess the bottom line question is, do we have to send it out to anybody at this point? I think, Craig, is that where you were leaning? Or were you on the opposite? Since it's public knowledge, anybody can.
He doesn't want to.
I'm against giving it to anybody.
Oh,
But I believe open records
Yeah.
have to give it to them. So I don't know. I mean, like you said, that's a county attorney question, and we can go with it from there.
I just-
I feel, I don't think anybody.
Well, I don't, yeah, I don't either. I would want everybody to be fair and transparent across the board and everybody be treated the same way. But, you know, since this was not really it's not like purchasing. This was a request for information, so it was not a sealed bid, so to speak, like we do in purchasing. So there's some technicalities, but we can still proceed ahead, I think, tonight and decide yes or no for those. I think we're only went 3 deep today.
I mean, legally, we haven't asked for a price, so I don't see why we couldn't redact the price. And if we had to put it out there for all to see, that would meet our requirement. So, all right, Greif. Yes, sir. I'm sorry,
Chairman
Mr.
P
Blair.
has joined the meeting.
Oh.
And I didn't know if maybe he would have any comments about Dynamic, so just wanted to give him the opportunity if he had something.
You're on mute.
I don't want to add
There we go.
anything at this time, Mr. Chairman.
All right, very good. So we, basically, Commissioner Chairman P, we have been through Dynamic. We are going to send them an invitation to do a virtual or a live presentation if they so choose, because we do have some questions that we'd like to find out about their business. Likely they will be moved to the RFP pile, but we do have some questions for them. Now we're moving on to Greif, which MAC is also a company that we currently do business with, and they are, I think main headquarters are out of state, but they have offices in Laverne and then a facility in Nashville, I believe, is what I read. Maybe not, but Laverne, I think, is where they have their.
If you've been around for a while, they're in the facility that was SP Recycling. Got
Okay.
purchased by Caristar, and then it got purchased by Greif.
All right.
So that's where you came up with your name changes. They've been dealing with Rutherford County for years. If you remember, you go to some of the schools, and there's 2 green paper-only boxes out there. That was theirs.
Okay.
And when our recycler went out of business and we started recycling on our own, they had the paper boxes in our convenience centers. And so SP started dumping those paper boxes that actually belonged to the company that went bankrupt, and they stayed there until the bankruptcy took them away. And then SP actually put those front loader boxes in there. And since that point, they have given us those containers, and we dump them ourselves and then take the paper to them. And all of our cardboard and other paper goes there as well.
All right. They also have a community education portion in their notes. And so when they say all waste paper, you say that does include corrugated, that includes boxes? Okay. So is there any paper that is not included in that?
Either contaminated paper that's been soiled with something that
Okay.
they don't want.
Okay. But any slick printing or construction paper, things like that, that's all good stuff to go. Okay. All right. Any questions, comments on Greif?
I have a question for Mr. Nolan. If this all comes down and works out and have some type of mandatory recycling situation going on, is this company large enough to handle Rutherford County's paper?
Yes, they are.
Chairman, if we have questions about a company, I don't think my questions warrant having a meeting with them, but if we have questions, do we go to the mayor's office and give them our questions, or do we have to request a meeting for them to come in? Well, I mean, No, yeah, I'm just, my question is, like, I had some questions, like, Commissioner Piercy just answered one of them. But I mean, I just have 3 questions, but I don't want to be in a situation where you got to call them in for a special meeting and all that. Would that be something we could just give to the deputy mayor and the mayor's office and let them get these answers? Instead of having to call a special meeting just for them?
Yeah, absolutely, we can do that, to call somebody in from one of these companies. Because of travel restrictions right now from their different companies, they may not be able to get in here. If they do come in or try to go back to their respective state, they might get quarantined for 14 days. So I think we're gonna have to do everything virtually, either by telephone or we can Zoom with them and get those questions answered for you. I think everybody's gonna wait until the RFP comes out and then try to wait and see what the travel restrictions would be. I've already had some calls from them, from 1 or 2 of the companies that have quoted, and they want to bring their people in, or if they're allowed to, since we're the 3rd highest state in COVID-related positives, some states won't allow people to come into our state and then go back to their own state, like Virginia or New York or wherever. I know Commissioner Gurley said that he barely escaped getting his daughter up there to New York a week or so ago. One company that has turned in a bid would like to do it virtually if they can't get here on Zoom, but they don't want to be the only one doing it in Zoom. If they said if we have to do it by Zoom and can't get there, can you make all of them do it by Zoom? And I was going, that wouldn't be fair for somebody who wants to drive 45 minutes down the road, from right here in town, Cheatham County or Warren County or somewhere else. It wouldn't be fair. So you just might need to come check in a motel for 14 days. Right.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, exactly.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to add to that. We had received questions through the RFI that I answered, Mac answered, Becky answered. We put them all together and really made one answer, into those questions. And we sent them to everybody that was on that list. That was, what we have. Becky, how many did we send it to? We sent it to all of them. But what we felt like the main point here is if you ask a question, I think that question is the same question that's going to be asked to everybody then. To keep it, I think, equal and fair to everybody. And it may not be the same question to one company is to another, but then again, it'll be the same generalized question that we will share with everybody during this process. And then I feel more than comfortable in doing that if we need to do that in an individual type question response while we're going through this or anything else, because we're all going to have a lot of questions, and I think we need to get these out. And so we're all comfortable with what we're doing.
Mr. Chairman, one of the reason I'm bringing this up is they don't have very much information for me to look at. And, like I said, Commissioner Piercy asked, what is the capacity? We're looking to go to send people to the RFP. We don't know what products they don't take. I don't know, see if they charge us, and another thing is, what do they do with the inventory that is, they can't get rid of? And my point is, a lot of recycles, people are just throwing them into the landfill. So I just have those 4 questions, but I don't want to make them have to come all the way down here just, for those 4. Because there's not much information in here for me to answer those questions.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, some people are not going to be doing that process. So that question means nothing to another company here. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying if they're out there, all the questions are out there all together, whether it pertains to you or not. And then if it doesn't pertain to them, then they don't answer. Or, they're given those whenever they come up to speak at the podium in front of this committee. But we'll deal with it however you want to do with it. I think keeping it all on the same page and everybody knowing where we're coming from, that we do that.
I really think we should extend them an invitation to come if they would like to. They're not coming from very far. And this is a major part of a recycle situation right here. If they don't want to come, don't come to the RFP.
I mean, I'm taking this very seriously as all of you, but I want to know every single thing I can. I mean, we're making one of the biggest decisions in this county's history, and I just want to give everybody an opportunity, but I need to know, 3 pages don't tell me anything. So that's, if they want to come, I would love to have them. I'm just saying, I just had 4 questions that could be given to them over telephone, but that's all.
Answer a couple of questions. They do pay us for each of the loads that we take. The price varies according to the yellow sheet. They pay us kind of on the high side of the yellow sheet. I hadn't looked at the last month, but the month before is like $17 a ton on cardboard and $12 on paper or something like that. It's down quite a bit. If their baler goes down and their building is still full, we do occasionally get a call, can you hold your cardboard? If the baler's down, but they'll usually get it up in a day or 2. That's the reason we have other company and ready to go if we have to go somewhere else. $17 for cardboard, $12 a ton for mixed paper.
Mr. Chairman. I can now, just barely cutting in and out some. But my only question I had, of course, we've been doing business with this company, and I also know the guy that's the general manager there. I think he used to be a manager out at the landfill. But do they only, they don't do any kind of pickup, Mac? Is that correct?
They do roll-off truck pickup, but they got out of the front loader business.
Okay, so if we work them into whatever we decide to do, then we'd be delivering to them.
That is correct. We do deliver it to them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Becky's got a question.
Well, I just want to mention that we went out for the request for information so that we could get as much information as possible. so that we create an RFP that we're happy with, that we know what we want to ask for. So as we start to ask questions, or if we decide, do we or don't we want folks to come talk with us, we point out things in the literature that we have that we didn't think about before. Those are all things that I think are going to be important when we start to craft that RFP. So that, I mean, that's the whole point of us doing this process. So I think it's important that we do have them come and ask those questions and ask those. And
Got
ask
it.
those questions as, you know, as we have them, but then we get answers to the other questions we have beyond what they do for us now. Does that make sense?
Ask them.
Do what?
Ask them.
Oh, does that make sense? Now that I've echoed everywhere. But basically, any of the information that we can get will be good information to use when we write the RFP.
All right, so that being said, let's go back one. This, the Greif deal. Did we, in our RFI, I don't remember a component that we said we estimate 5 gazillion tons of paper and cardboard. So do we need to put out a target number that is inflated for population growth for the next 25 years? And that be, I mean, to make sure that's a question that we ask is, well, I mean, Matt can tell us what we do paper-wise now, only because we're doing business with him, and he knows that. But did we say in our RFI specifically that we had X amount of tons and we anticipate X amount of tons of paper and cardboard?
We gave them a history,
Yeah.
2015 through 2018.
Okay, and it specifically broke out paper and cardboard products? Fantastic, okay.
Paper products is going to continue to get less and less the more digital we go.
The what will?
Paper products are going to get less and less. There's not hardly any magazines anymore.
Yeah.
All that's declined.
Yeah, and Amazon made a huge statement the other day in the news that they're looking at ways to repackage their products, which means probably a different solution to cardboard. So, which maybe mean more plastic that we can't recycle, I don't know. But yeah, the world is changing quickly. All right, landfill performance solutions, like I said, an interesting read, a couple of different components. This was a little bit of a head scratcher for me. This sounds like a guy who has either really paid attention to all our meetings for the last year and a half and said, hey man, I can do everything you want. I just need to put a bunch of folks together, which any one of us could have written the same letter, I guess. Because it sounds like he would be like the top of the food chain and he just assembles a bunch of folks to do the work. I may be reading that entirely wrong, but that's the impression I got. But it sounds really cool, and basically he would take our existing landfill and reclaim it, harvest it, and then reuse any metals he could, take the construction and demolition material out of it, and recycle. I mean, it's a pretty cool thing, pretty cool concept anyway. What are your thoughts, questions? Yes, Chanto.
Well, I agree with Mr. Chairman because I read this. Looks like he was former the director for the solid waste, and also he tried to, get along by using, for example, the county needs something, so he will try to do whatever we suggest.
Yeah, exactly. Questions, comments, Mr. Blair?
Mac, how many acres is the old landfill? 77? Do I remember something?
72 and a half of actual landfill footprint.
So how many tons of solid waste would 72 acres hold?
A bunch.
Yeah.
You remember we did the core drilling a few months ago? And then we got the report from that, and it gave us a range up to 4 million cubic yards. Now, there's going to be a lot of dirt mixed with that trash, but you're going to have to remove it all. So roughly 4 million would be the number that you're asking about.
Okay. Yeah, this gentleman talks about tip fees. He talks about we would basically clear out our own landfill, line it, and then start to reuse it. We could potentially give Rutherford County 50 years of landfill disposal in option 1. That's if we just do county waste. If we want to open it up to other county waste and charge tipping fees, that would basically cover our costs, and that would give us about a 20 to 30 year window of landfill capacity. And also we talked about the potential tire recycling program. So, he's talking our language, but obviously this would be somebody I'm sure we'd like to ask a lot of questions to.
All the ones we've looked at, this is the one that definitely needs to invite to talk to.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I have so many questions, I'm not even going to go over.
Yeah. But did you have the same impression that I did, that this guy's just like the headmaster and he just assembles a team? Or does he have a real working company and boots on the ground? I never got that feeling that he had boots on the ground. Well, yeah, I was just trying to interpret the pages. I didn't really get that fuzzy feeling that, Mac?
He actually called me and asked a lot of questions, so I spent some time with him on the telephone.
Okay.
So that's the reason he knew a whole lot about what we do on the inside.
Yeah, okay.
Explained to him the sizes of the landfills and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. Any other comments? Becky, do you have any comments? Rachel, do you have any comments? Okay, all right. Just trying to clue you.
I took the liberty of printing that back and front page and sent it to the TDEC field office in Nashville to Mike Horsley. He's the field office manager. And he already had my phone number. But about an hour later, he called. He said, so is this something you're doing, you're going to do, you're thinking about, or what?
Yeah.
Because my thing was permits, question marks.
Yeah.
TDEC currently does not have any regulations on digging up a landfill. They just have regulations on putting stuff in.
Okay.
That would be kind of new charted ground for them.
Yeah.
He said that they would have to look at permits. So I suggested some stuff to him, and it kind of caught him off guard. I said, we still have our Class 3 landfill, which is construction demolition, resting, still open. He said, that is correct. So I said, so if we start taking debris out of it, we don't need any modifications or anything. It's just something that normally isn't done. He said, right. So if we start taking debris out of the closed garbage landfill that's been closed since 1994, most of the reason that stuff is in there is already decomposed, so we should be able to put it into the construction demolition. He said, that's actually been done before. Williamson County is currently doing that. So we'll just have to run some analytical tests. The only permit we may have to get would be a new landfill permit to do the 100-acre landfill that he was talking about.
Wow, okay.
But
So,
to do that, you're going to have to, before you start digging anything, and that's what Mike and I talked about, was you're going to have to build that first cell to put stuff in. Because that first day you dig, you're going to have something.
put
that
it
doesn't have a
somewhere.
home.
That's right, okay. All right, yeah, this is intriguing, and we would love to talk to this guy. Let's put him on the list to call. And Rachel, not Rachel, I'm sorry. Well, yeah, Rachel, you too. You've been here a long time. Rebecca, with your knowledge, to be sure and coach us on some good questions to ask some of these people too, other than the ones we already have in our minds. All right? Interesting. All right, that was our 3, and those were pretty fast reads, at least for me. It wasn't near as challenging as I thought it was going to be once I got into the meat of it. So let's talk about what we want to do. I think we have a meeting on Friday. Is that right? Okay. Steve, what'd you say? 1 o'clock. I won't be here. Will you be here? Okay. Okay, all right, gotcha, okay. So, yeah, then Piercy, you can run the meeting on Friday, if we need one. So let me ask this question. Friday, I'm assuming we would just pick another 3 or 4 or 5 and rehash those on Friday. Did we have another meeting scheduled after Friday?
Yes, sir,
The 11th, which is Tuesday. Okay. Do you want to do a Friday meeting, or do you want to just do them all, the remainders on Tuesday?
Are you ready to do Friday afternoon meetings?
No, just not this one.
I'd rather do a Friday afternoon.
Okay. Then how many you want to bite off for Friday? That gives you, what, 48 hours?
Y'all don't mind, I'd like to do the next one on the list, which is Muir Oaks. I mean, I just say we don't have to deal with that Friday and just go ahead and ask them for an invitation, because this is unbelievable.
Yeah, this is a big deal. Well, I mean, okay, well, let's talk about that. We know that number 4, well, let me go down the number 4 of your list and make sure it's the same as mine. I'm looking at this, okay? It's a pretty safe bet that number 4 is going to get an invite. And I'm talking not only discussion, but likely RFP, right? Number 4, and I don't know, but to me, these are the obvious ones. Number 4, 5, 6, number 7, likely number 10, and then the last one. Or to me, are the sure enough ponies. And I say that because these are big time companies, national exposure. These are the real show ponies, right? So to me, they automatically get, it's like a bye week. They get a bye week to the RFP. Certainly, we would like to extend them an invitation for discussion, questions. The rest of these, we know of some, but we certainly want to go through the same process we've done with these 3. So you want to just keep, let's see.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask
Yes.
a question?
Yes.
So are we trying to decide on who to invite for a pre-RFP interview? Because anybody can submit an RFP.
Anybody can submit an RFP, that's correct.
So we're interested, because they went to the trouble of sending us these information packets. We're going to give a courtesy interview to some of them. Is that correct?
Well, we talked about that a little bit the night before last. Or was it last night? Whenever it was, night
I
before
wonder
last.
if some of these entities won't want to come until after they issue.
RFP, right. Some of these are not going to expose any cards until the last opportunity.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we're having difficulty hearing on TV land.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Everybody needs to grab their mic and speak clearly and make sure that thing is on, because nobody is hearing
That's my fault.
different conversations. So I'm sorry, but they're telling me that when
Yeah, thank you, Steve. That's my fault. I'm leaning back and getting comfortable. We had this discussion, so let's decide and put this to bed really quickly. One of you over here made the suggestion the other night that, hey, these people went to the trouble of putting this together. Let's just invite them all send the invite out. I'm fine with that. You guys, you want to do that? Or you want to just pick the ones we want and tell the rest thank you?
I'm okay with it.
Okay, we're going to send everybody out an invitation, All
I
right.
agree.
Was it? Okay.
I
Phil Dodd.
agree, yeah.
Okay, thumbs up on that. So I'm going to spin my head again. Send out an invitation to all those that have applied. So that being said, when would we like to start this interview process? You want to start it when? You tell me. We still have to obviously get through this list of discussion, which, by next week will be done. You want to start reaching out and send dates towards the end of August?
Well, we got, this August meeting, we are going to be electing chairman of commission, steering committee, and then we'll be having the committee selections from the commissioners August 31st.
Okay.
So if, we'll have, we'll have the same group, or we could have a different,
All right.
So I'd probably say till after we know, what commissioner's going to be in Public Works, which would be August 31st.
So start the first week in September?
I believe so, yes, sir.
All right. So will you two look at the calendars and start sending out invites? And I don't know how you're going to do this. If it's send them all out and do first come, first serve, send out 12 open dates or times, or double up and do 3 a day, 20 minutes, 20, 30 minute, 20 minutes probably tops, don't you think? And knock off 3 at a time?
Well, we've got 12, and if we could, some of them are larger companies than others,
Yeah.
and, we could group them together according to relatively the same kind of service, and get those, I say, smaller companies, not meaning anything by that at all, but we can do like 4 or 5 of those one night. And then the bigger companies with more components in their RFI and going to require more questions and more detail and more whatever, we might just do 1 or 2 of those a night. So we're at the disposal of this committee, so you tell us what you want and we'll do it. But I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Waiting till September to start all this, could we not look around this room and on visual and see if there's anybody wanting to leave our committee? If they don't want to leave, normally you get your first choice. And that would simplify that and speed this process on up.
Well, commissioners, I speak for the steering. If there's commissioners that want to come on, on this, I don't know. I basically, as being steering chair, I like to keep to where everything is the way it is. That's what I would like to do. But if there's some other commissioners that feel that they want to be on here, then I'll have to address that. But I personally think that we should keep the same committee that we got. I would like to do that, but I don't know. I'll know everything Thursday, and I'll be able to tell you what's going on.
Yeah.
If I'm reelected as chairman, I agree.
Yeah. Mr. Mayor, can I ask you a question? Yes, sir. In regards to committee appointments, this committee has been together for quite some time and has done due diligence on much studying and debating on different technologies. We would hate to see this committee broken up. If another commissioner selects Public Works as his first choice, does a steering committee chair have to, if all want to stay, if these guys all pick Public Works is their number one choice, if I stay chairman or if somebody else is the new chairman, say the two of us have final say on who stays on that committee?
There's nothing in our handbook that addresses that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just up to the steering committee to make the recommendations, and it's all based on votes. But I think we're close enough to where everybody should honor that.
Yeah.
And I would recommend both the chairman, you and Chairman Harris, is to talk to the other commissioners, say this is really important, and that the continuation of this committee is and the adhesiveness of what they have already learned to put our new commissioner on here. I think it'd be an injustice to him and the committee.
Right.
So out of everything that's going to change, I'm not going to get in the middle of the politics on if somebody really wants that and can get the votes, we can't prohibit that from occurring. So there's nothing written in our handbook, but
Okay.
I think that would be incumbent upon the two chairmen to say how important this is.
Well, I'm sure this committee is probably the most popular, no doubt. And multiple people would like to be on this committee, but I'd also like to be 6'5" and good looking too, and that's not going to happen. So if we can keep this, if you all, we'll know in a couple of weeks, but likely this committee will stay whole as it is now unless somebody wants to drop off. And if you do, I would come talk to me because I'd like to convince you to stay on. But that being said, Commissioner Piercy brings up a good point. By this time next week, we will be likely through discussion of these applications. So could we not start the interview calendar prior to September 1? I say we could.
I think we could start as soon as you want to start. I mean, we can just, here's the whole thing. Let's just get it going. So let's just start it and not have to wait till September.
So these other than the 19th?
You can't do the 19th, no. It's just
Okay.
that.
Okay. Look at your calendars, please, for the month of August. The 17th, the 18th, the 20th, and 21st are open dates right now for the county calendar. 17, 18, 20, 21.
And then if you want to go on to this week, we could do the 26th or the 28th.
Okay, and
The only one I have open, Mr. Chairman, is the 20th.
okay. The following week, we have the 26th and 28th open as well.
Good on both?
Okay, and how about the rest of you? How about virtual land? Mr.
Chairman,
Dodd and Mr. P?
I'm unavailable. I am not available on the 17th.
Okay.
Just FYI.
Mr. P?
All the dates you mentioned, 17th, 18th, 20th, 21st, 26th, and 28th, I'm open. I have a little problem with this Friday, but other than that, the rest
Okay.
of them look open to me.
Okay. So, who is the no? Was there a no on the 18th? You were a no, right, Craig? You were no on 8. Tell me again what you were. Okay. All right. So 20. Let's go ahead and just book the first one, Rebecca and Rachel. Let's book the first one on the 20th. And then we will do the 26th and the 28th. I'm sorry, say again?
These are all interview days?
These are interview dates, yes, potential interview dates. And the question from Rachel is, what time of day? Mac, what'd you say? Night, okay.
Or over into the school season, mine has to be in the afternoons or night after, at 5:30 or beyond.
Okay, at 5:30 or after? Is 5:30 doable? 5:30. Okay, let's just make it 5:30.
That's the 20th, Mr. Chairman, the 20th.
20th at 5:30 is the first kickoff. Then the 26th at 5:30, the 28th at 5:30. And then we'll reconnoiter from there and see what we have left.
Are we planning on, Mr. Chairman, just doing 4 each night?
Depending on the size of the company, as Deputy to the Mayor, Steve said, we might be able to knock out some of the smaller onesies, that just have like e-waste that can be done in a short amount of time. The ones that are doing multiple technologies, we may only get to do 1 or 2 of those a night. So we're going to have to feel our way. We're breaking new ground here. We're going to have to feel our way. All right. So now. Uh-oh.
I'm unavailable at 28th.
Okay.
I mean, at 5:30, I'm unavailable. I'm available other than that. That's a Friday. Yeah.
All right.
No, I'm a football coach, though.
Okay. I actually think I'm unavailable on the 20th. So let me ask you a question. Does it kill us if one of us is missing? I don't think so. I mean, if here's the thing. If one of us has a couple of questions, I can feed it to Mr. Blair, and Mr. Blair can answer my questions, right? Is that fair? I'm so sorry. My statement was, if one of us has a conflict and can't make it, is that a deal killer? And the solution was no. If one of us has particular questions for that scheduled company or companies that night, we can pass our questions to a fellow member, and they can ask those questions for us.
Or send them to staff. We'll be glad to.
Or staff, yeah. So if that's okay with everybody, so we're going to keep those dates then? All right, very good. Thank you.
You might have moved it off the Friday night and went to 17th or 18th in the previous week, and both of y'all could attend.
Say that one more time, Commissioner.
The first dates give us the 17th, 18th, and 20th. Did you not move it off the Friday night on the 28th and put it into the week?
Oh, yeah, because we all had conflicts, right? Yeah.
What about the 18th? Was Craig unavailable the 18th?
Yeah, Craig was gone the 18th, but I don't want you to miss like 3 of them.
I agree.
I am free the 19th, 20th are good. We already got the 20th, so I'm free the 19th.
But we have purchasing at 4:30. Does that matter? Does that?
6, I mean, it's going to be later. That's an option.
Can we do 6 o'clock on the 19th? You okay with that? Phil?
Yes, I'm okay with that.
Commissioner P, you okay with the 19th at 6:30?
I am. That'll be fine.
6:30.
I'm sorry, say again.
6:30?
So we're skipping the 28th then? Okay, all right, sounds good. Yeah. August, no, okay, you just say that loud, go ahead.
August 19th at 6 o'clock, August the 20th at 5:30, August 26th at 5:30.
Will you please send an email to everybody? And you two need to decide who's in charge of communication. All right. Okay, so we are going to meet Friday, correct? We are going to meet this Friday? All right, I won't be here. How many of these do you want to bite off, or did you decide you're just going to tackle the big one that's number 4?
I think we can get 3.
Okay. So, the next 3? All right. Rachel? Okay, next 3 it is. That's your homework. All right, everybody on board? That'll get us halfway home. Again, those would be Maru Oaks, New Planet Energy, and Pratt Recycling.
Next meeting is the 11th after this.
The next meeting is the 11th after this. The next meeting is this.
After Friday.
After Friday, we have on this solid waste at 5:30. Yes, and that will then do our next 3 or 4 or however many we think. So yeah, so Friday you need to make that announcement, a reminder, and pick your next 3 or 4. All right, what else, Mac?
I have contacts with New Plant Energy and Pratt Recycling. So if you're reading through and you have questions, call me with your question and I'll contact that person to get your answer.
Okay.
Try to do that before Friday.
All right.
With
Chairman,
Plant
what were the
Energy
3
and
again
Pratt.
that we're going to look at?
1 second, Mr. P. Or restate your question, Mr. P.
What were the 3? You said Maru Oaks, Pratt Recycling, and what was the third one?
New Planet Energy.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right, any other business? Rachel, anything? I mean, Rachel.
Hey, Becky?
I'll take that as
Becky, do you have anything? All right, Rachel, do you have anything? Okay. All right, meeting adjourned.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Dodd. Do you have anything?